The Finding Purpose podcast is proudly brought to you by Relive the Moments, founded by visionary entrepreneur John Lim. We live in a world where it's easy to capture memories, but Relive the Moments makes it effortless to re-experience and share them. From NFC-enabled tap coasters and photo frames to interactive video cards, Relive the Moments turns everyday objects into unforgettable tap-to-experience keepsakes. Imagine gifting a wedding guest a coaster that instantly opens your highlight reel, or giving your event sponsors a custom frame that tells your story with just one tap. Whether you're celebrating a milestone, planning a wedding, honoring a legacy, or elevating a brand experience, Relive the Moments is the bridge between the past and present, between memory and connection. It's not just a product, it's an experience. Visit www.relivethemoments.com and use promo code PURPOSE for 25% off your first order. Let's bring your memories to life, one tap at a time.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Finding Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Adam Vora, and I'm so grateful to have you here. This podcast is all about exploring the journeys of incredible individuals, people who have faced adversity, found their purpose, and are now making an impact in their communities. But it's also about my journey. Over the years, I've faced my own obstacles, moments of doubt, and struggles with identity. Through it all, I found my purpose in giving back, creating a space where people can detach from the negative emotions and stigmas they may associate with their own stories, just like I did with mine. Here, we have real conversations about growth, resilience, and transformation. Whether you're searching for direction, striving for personal development, or simply looking for a place to feel seen and understood, this is for you. So if these conversations resonate with you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social media. Now let's dive into today's episode.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Finding Purpose podcast. I'm Adam, and I want to thank you for being here. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or watching on the official YouTube channel of the Finding Purpose podcast, your continued support, your follows, reviews, and shares help this community grow and keeps these stories moving. Last week's episode with Cami K took us into the world of energy, intention, and creative alignment. If you haven't checked it out, that conversation on purpose, intuition, and stepping into your highest self, I highly recommend going back for that one. Today, we shift into a different kind of alignment with a guest who's been building legacy one closing at a time. Roman Vladimirsky, better known as Roman the Realtor, is a Bronx-born Westchester-based entrepreneur who turned a stagnant career into a thriving real estate brand. After years in marketing at major networks like ESPN and CBS, Roman decided to bet on himself, channeling his street smarts, branding instincts, and local knowledge into something bigger. In 2018, he founded the Vladimirsky Team, TVT, with Keller Williams NY Realty, and since then, he's helped hundreds of families find more than just homes. He's helped them plant roots and build futures. Roman believes real estate is about more than property. It's about creating generational legacy. This episode is about ownership in every sense of the word. Roman, you're the man.
Dude, thank you. That was the most eloquent, beautiful intro I've ever had. I think we should just end it right here.
Well,
and then
Claudia would love that.
That was nice, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well,
thank you for having me.
Well, I've always admired you, bro. I always watch what you do. And, as much as you talk about what you do, you also talk about the communities that you work in. And I think that's where you add just this whole different layer to just your approach to real estate, but who you are as a person as well, understanding that when you're moving someone to these communities, you want them to be familiar with the local businesses and the schools and everything that is going to really fill their lives outside of that home. So, I've always respected your game, man. I don't remember how I met you. I think I met you through Ryan I
I think
think.
you just reached out to me on Instagram.
Did
which
I?
Seems to be how I meet
I slid in your
most
DMs?
people. You slid in my DMs.
Oh, shit.
It's how I seem to meet most people these days.
That's great.
So thanks for sliding, dude.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. And, this is a long time in the making. But, it's funny because I really don't know much about, like, your backstory. I know you're, like, a New Yorker, like, through and through.
Mhm.
I know you're Ukrainian. I know maybe we could start in the beginning a little bit.
Let's start in the beginning. So I was born in the Ukraine. I was not born in New York.
Okay.
I was born in Kiev. My family immigrated here in 1991. I was about 1.5, 2 years old, something along those lines. I lived with my family in the Bronx for a majority of my life with a 3 to 4 year stint in Florida. But from 2000 on, we moved back from Florida, and I've been here, lived with my mom and my brother. Dude, growing up in the Bronx was the absolute best. I don't think I would want to grow up anywhere else.
Really?
It was just fun. Like, we just had fun. Like, just kids go outside, play, stickball, manhunt, do all these just like fun things, and I think it was the best place to grow up. It made me.
It's so funny though, because now you're in the suburbs and I grew up in the suburbs. When you look at the way kids grow up now and how you grew up, what do you feel like they're missing living in more than growing up in more of like an urban community?
I think it's independence.
Okay.
I think growing up in the city made me more independent. Like, I was taking the public city bus to school in 6th grade. I don't know if you could do that now. I don't know if parents would allow their kids in 2025 to take the public bus or the public train to school by themselves. It was liberating.
Do you feel like families in the suburbs are just like way more afraid of things than, your parents were when you were growing up?
I think families in the suburbs are a little bit more, I don't mean to offend anybody, but it's just the reality of it. I think families in the suburbs are a little bit more sheltered from certain things in the world. Like, I remember when I used to go, my dad lives in Florida. He still lives there now. And when I was younger, I would go visit him. And a lot of the people there would ask me, Roman, where are you from? I'd say, I'm from the Bronx. And it was just like, oh my God, like, you live in the Bronx? Like, is it dangerous? Like, are you scared? Like, do you walk along? I'm like, yeah, it's home. I mean, it's nothing, like, so I do think people from outside big metropolitan areas don't really understand what it's about. And I think it's an amazing thing. And I think it really brought my independence and entrepreneurial spirit to light. I don't know that I would be the guy that I am today if I grew up in a suburb.
Yeah. And when your family moved here in 1991, like, was it just them or did the entire family union?
So we already had,
Kiev come
we already had some family here that lived here for like 12, 13 years at that time. So we were like 12 of us in like a 2-bedroom apartment in Parkchester when we first moved here. And then my parents got their own apartment in Co-op City. So we lived there for a good amount of time until we moved to Florida for a bit. Then my parents got divorced. My mom took us back to New York. My dad's still in Florida.
When did you first begin to understand? Because I'm the child of immigrants also. When did you first begin to understand that, like, your parents came in from a different country and that they were kind of starting from scratch and, like, that it was a little different from you, from, like, your classmates and, the other folks on the block?
I'm not going to lie. I think it probably was my early teens, which I think might have been too late, too, because I think, like, my mom did a pretty good job of, I don't want to say masking the fact that we didn't have a shit ton of money, but we never felt like, me and my brother never felt like we didn't have a lot. We felt like we had enough. We were content with it. Part of me always did want more, which I guess where the entrepreneurial side kicked in. But it wasn't until the early teens that I realized how hard my parents really had to work to make, like, I didn't know we were on welfare. I didn't know, like, we had food stamps. Like, I just didn't, as a kid, you don't realize these things. Some families do, I guess, when they open their kids up to that world. I don't know if it was on purpose, but she really sheltered us from a lot of that. And my mom, kudos to her, is a self-made successful person. She's a human resources director now. She's got her own business, and she came from nothing, put herself through school, did what a lot of immigrant parents do, and just don't make excuses and just power through life.
Yeah, man, I think that's beautiful, and I think that's, like, come from immigrant parents myself, just their hustle is a little different. Not to say that, like, we don't hustle, but, like, knowing, like, I mean, my dad came here and he had nobody. Like there's no extended family out here. He came here on an education visa, so it's like boom, all his brothers and sisters are military back in India,
Right.
and he was out here on an island by himself, and it was kind of just like he didn't have any support system really, other than professors who he gained their respect and was able to lean on during like times that tested him, because I'm sure he had plenty of them. Just how it is in the nature of a big city and school and whatnot. But I've come to appreciate it a lot more now. What values do you think you have directly credit to your mom that you practice now?
Just hard work ethic.
Mhm.
Hard work ethic. My mom does not give up until she gets the answer she wants. She's a very driven person. It's from the littlest thing of maybe like, she ordered a package from Prime and it didn't come, in the 24-hour shipping, and she's like, I'm gonna call them and I'm gonna give them a piece of my mind, like that. Like she's a very driven woman, and she kind of had to be, because she was a single mom with 2 kids. So her drive still inspires me, and I think just being a good human. She is probably the nicest soul on the face of the earth. I'm sure your mom's great too.
Yeah.
But she's probably the nicest soul on the face of the earth. Like she never harms anybody. She never gives anybody shit unless they deserve it.
Yeah. Which is, valid.
Yeah.
Valid as shit. Yeah. So what was it like, you grew up in the city, teenage Roman, what was he like?
Oh, he was a pain in the ass, man.
Really?
Dude, teenage Roman got into some shit.
Really?
Teenage Roman got into some normal trouble. I wouldn't say like I was a problem child,
Yeah.
But like my entrepreneurial spirit, like I said, really kicked in around like 14, 15. I used to burn CDs for people in my school, $5 a CD.
Oh my God,
you give me a
remember
playlist you want, I would go on LimeWire, Kazaa, Napster, whatever was available, and I would make you your CD with a case and everything. It was very professionally done. I put your name on the CD. Boom, $5, and that's how I was making money.
That's wild.
That was like my first rodeo into to being an entrepreneur.
What motivated you into doing that, and what did that early entrepreneurial experience teach you?
Well, I wanted the stuff. Like back then, it was Jordans, NBA jerseys, like all that stuff was in, and like I knew my mom didn't have the money, and I loved hats. Like I had to have all the fitteds.
Yeah,
all the fitteds at that time. Like my
I used
thing.
to collect fitteds.
Yeah,
too.
so but like my mom, I knew she didn't have the money to get me the fitteds. They were $20 a piece at the time, or 25, whatever it was, and it just gave me the independence. Like I had my own money. Later on, I took that entrepreneurial spirit to like the next level, and I started stealing my mom's car without her knowledge and driving people places. I didn't even have my driver's license.
That's awesome.
So that doing those kind of things really allowed me to
sell mixtapes and selling people rides.
That's it. Uber before Uber.
Uber before Uber, bro. That's wild. So you're growing up. Did you what year did you graduate high school?
2007.
2007. Okay, so you're like 3 years younger than me. So right out of high school, you already have this entrepreneurial mindset. What was your next step?
So I don't know how the school system is now, but when I graduated high school, being an entrepreneur wasn't really like a thing. It's not something they talked about in high school. It's not something they talk about at career day. You were supposed to go to college, get a college degree, and then become, something important.
Yeah.
I wish I had the opportunity to know that I didn't have to go to college. So I went to WCC after high school, while still working. And it took me, I eventually did get a bachelor's degree. I went to WCC, then I went to Mercy College for a semester or two, and then eventually graduated from the CUNY School of Professional Studies, which nobody knows where it is because it's an all-online school.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so I got to work full-time, do my schooling online, but it took me 7 years to get a 4-year degree. Only doctors do that. So it goes to show, like, I just didn't belong. I didn't belong in school.
Yeah.
I didn't belong in school, and I hope that the education system is a little bit set up now to tell people, like, college isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
I was a C student.
Yeah.
C minus probably. Like I was a crappy student. I hated school. I hated learning. Only history I was good at.
Yeah, I was a good student in high school, and then college was just like a fucking.
It was a joke.
It was
I
didn't feel inspired to go to the classes. You know what I mean?
No.
So what were the jobs that you were doing? Your early, entrance into the workforce while you were in school?
So my first job, like actual job I had when I was 14, I worked at a flower shop in the Bronx, and I broke up boxes and I delivered flowers.
Nice.
Then I got a job at the VIP Country Club in New Rochelle. I was a waiter there. So I met my wife, my now wife, a long time ago. Eventually
Go ahead.
You have a question?
Wait, she worked there also?
She was a
What's
waitress
her name?
there. Alana.
Alana.
Yep.
Okay. So that's where you met Alana.
Mm-hmm. That's where I met Alana. And after that, then I went to go deliver pizzas. And then I got an internship at ESPN.
Nice.
After that, yeah.
It's funny because I feel like the restaurant industry, and I worked in the restaurant industry for years, like provides you with like a lot of tools that you in the moment of working in the restaurant industry, you're utilizing them, and the restaurant industry and the grind and the egos, and it's very you're working close quarters. Customer service, yeah. Conflict resolution right there on the spot.
Yep.
Multitasking, everything.
Controlling your own ego,
yeah. Like time management. Like it teaches you everything. And when you look at like those early work experiences, how do you feel like they've just developed you now? Like how you are now?
I think in that moment, I didn't really appreciate any of it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get through the day and get a paycheck and move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But everything you just mentioned right now, like working at the restaurant, there was event like I was a waiter, and then eventually I became a captain, which is it was all weddings and parties and things like that. So I got to like run the events. So that taught me a lot about leadership. It taught me a lot about how to, I guess, inspire people in a way to kind of get them to do their job, even though it's obviously at a smaller scale.
Well, delegation,
exactly. But I did learn a lot from that because not everybody was as driven as I was. But instead of actually helping their drive, I did things myself. So I didn't delegate properly. So that job taught me a little bit like what not to do.
Yeah,
totally. So that was a good lesson.
Yeah. What was it like working for ESPN?
Awesome. It's the best time of my life.
Yeah? What did you do there?
So I started out as a marketing and promotions intern.
Okay.
So marketing and promotions intern, we basically did a lot of the back end grunt work. So we would go to bars and hand out T-shirts.
Okay.
Promote the station. We would set up tents and stuff. But I did get to go to all the Jet games.
That's it.
All the Jet home games were cool. I'm a Patriot fan though, so I rooted against them every single time.
You're a Patriot fan from the Bronx?
Yes.
It's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody's perfect, dude. What can I tell you?
Hey, listen, you had a nice run.
It's not over. We're coming back.
Okay.
Coming back. But yeah, no, it was fun, man. Like obviously being a huge sports fan, working at ESPN was like a dream come true. But didn't pay the bills. Really? Intern first 6 months, obviously you work for free for a semester.
Yeah.
Then they hired me at a whopping $10 an hour, which was life-changing money. Then after that, it was probably about $35,000 a year, which is what it came out to from working at ESPN, then to going to work at CBS Radio.
Okay.
So it wasn't for me. You can't really build a life like that.
Yeah. Did you meet any of the cool like?
Do you listen to ESPN Radio?
Oh, ESPN Radio. Sometimes,
radio station. So like Michael Kay.
Yeah.
Don LaGreca. Those are the guys I worked with.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I can't stand Michael Kay.
Love Michael Kay.
Really?
Love Michael Kay.
I just think his commentary is very corny.
Yes.
He's a very corny man.
He is a very corny man.
He seems like a really nice guy. I'm pretty sure he lives in Greenwich.
He does.
Yeah.
He does live in Greenwich.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was great, man. Like I actually listened to them. Like when I delivered pizza before I was there, I listened to them every day.
Yeah, and now you're working alongside them.
And then I was working alongside them. Granted, I was an intern. Nobody knew I was there, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But I was there. I was doing it. And I still keep in touch with a lot of people from there. And
that's awesome.
It's huge.
So, it's just like such a variety of different things you've done. When did you, as you're doing this, obviously, like life is happening too. Like, did you end up getting married? When did you end up getting married?
I got married in 2019. We dated for 11 years before we dated for 9 years before I popped the question. Then we got married after 11 years of dating. 2-year engagement.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm trying to do the math. So like, obviously like personal relationships and professional relationships, and you're in the process of kind of like building what you're building. How do you balance that when it comes to like your personal relationships as well?
Dude, like before kids, it was not hard.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. It was pretty easy because she understood what I was doing. She's a teacher. I understood what she was doing. We had our individual goals. So it was fairly easy. Nobody was up each other's ass. But I'm not going to lie. Once you have kids, it becomes a lot more difficult because now it's no longer about her. It's no longer about me. It's about these two people we're trying to keep alive and teach right from wrong and grow their personalities. And, it becomes much more of a negotiation with everything, not just one or two things here and there. Everything is a negotiation. So you got to make sure you're on the same page.
With the kids or with your wife?
With my wife.
Okay.
With my wife. Because, look, dude, like everything you take for granted, like you were just talking about going to eat after this. If you had asked me if I wanted to go eat after this, I would be like, hold on, man. Got to check with the wife, see what we're doing with the kids.
Yeah.
Every decision is now around them.
It's funny because, I see the way that you grind and the way that you work. And, when did you first get into real estate? I want to talk about that journey because it's such a huge part of what you do. But there's so many questions I have.
Sure. So in 2016, I lost my stepfather. Me and him were very, very close. And after he had passed away, throughout the funeral planning process, I got very close with a good friend of his. His name's Dave. And Dave owned a commercial brokerage in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
And at the time, I was still at ESPN. I was at CBS Radio, and constant promises of promotions and this and that, and just nothing ever transpired from it. So he's like, look, come to work for me at my commercial brokerage. We have no social media presence whatsoever. He was like, we have no Twitter, we have nothing, no Instagram. Help us. We're a bunch of old men. Come work for me. I was like, great. What are you going to pay me? $3,000 a month. I'm like, fuck. I was like, well, that's pretty much the same thing. But I was at a dead end job, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take a shot, and I'm going to go and do it. So while working for him for 6 months, I kind of watched these guys selling commercial real estate in Newark. I'm like, wow, this is actually could be pretty lucrative. It's fun. No day is the same. Every day is different. It's within the entrepreneurial world. I think I could do this in New York.
Yeah.
So I did it.
Okay.
I did it.
So was your stepfather in real estate also?
No, he was not. This is one of his good friends growing up that kind of took me under his wing at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think he did that?
We got along very well in the beginning. We just have very similar personalities. I think he may have seen himself in me, a younger version of himself, because he owns several businesses. He's an entrepreneur too. He's retired now, living in Boca.
Nice.
And maybe he felt some kind of obligation to his friend.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm beyond grateful that he did that. And I say this to people all the time. I kind of carry it around where I feel like I believe that if my stepdad didn't die, that I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Yeah.
Like it was a chain of events that led to things that maybe I would have come around to at some point.
Yeah.
But you never really know.
Do you mind talking a little bit about that relationship? Because it sounds like a really powerful relationship in your life.
It was a short relationship. Like me and my dad don't have the best relationship.
Okay.
We're cordial, we talk, but it's not like that father-son bond kind of deal.
Yeah.
And my stepdad came into my life late. I was already a teenager.
Yeah.
And we were really close for like the last, I would say 5 to 8 years of his life.
Yeah.
Sports conversations, real life conversations, girl conversations, relationships, like everything a father would have with his son.
Yeah.
And it really sucked when he died because I just felt like it was kind of like, taken away from me.
Yeah.
And I try to, with my son, try with my son to just kind of have all the relationships that I didn't have as a kid with my dad.
Yeah.
So.
And you take that, like, what was his name?
Ray.
You take that relationship with Ray and like, all right, like, this is how I want it to be with my son. And that's beautiful, man.
Thanks.
And I think that's cool that you could be like, all right, like, the silver lining out of it was like my introduction to real estate, and this series of events wouldn't have happened had that tragically not occurred.
Yeah.
So now you're like, all right, you got a taste of the real estate game, and now, dude, like, I just like associate real estate with you. You know what I mean? And it's funny because before this, I was like, oh, dude, like, I don't really want to talk about work. I don't want to talk about this. And you know, at the end of the day, like the flow of the conversation is the flow of the conversation because like, you know, as I led with, it's like your approach to real estate is just like very human. You know, and that's the one thing, like even when I came and drove to New Rochelle the other day and I sat down with you, like it was just like a very human like conversation, very personable. And you know, that's something that I've always just like attributed to you, bro.
Thank you.
Talk about how important it is to be human in your interactions with people, even when it isn't at a professional level.
So I think people take themselves way too seriously. Let me rephrase that. I think people in business take themselves way too seriously. People want to do business with somebody they like, know, and trust. And if you're going to put on a fake suit with a tie and, you know, $1,000 shoes and this and that, and you're going to say, oh, you know, I'm going to help you sell your house, but that's not really you, why would you want to work with somebody like that? I want to show up every day and be myself. And this is me. I like to wear hats. I don't like to wear, you know, dress pants. No offense, those are lovely. It's just not for me.
Chaps.
It's not chaps, excuse me. You know what? It's just not for me. I want to be myself every day. And if the information, if the way that I look outweighs the information that I'm giving you, then we're probably not the right fit for each other.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. You can't close everybody.
Yeah.
Right? I'm good with it. I'm comfortable in my own skin. And I think everybody else should try to do the same.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think there is a lot of people who take themselves seriously.
Yeah.
Like way too seriously.
Way too seriously.
And
especially real estate agents. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Realtors are really full of themselves. Really full of themselves. You can tell by their content. You can tell by the way what they wear. You can tell by their cars. It's like, dude, calm down.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you know, sometimes I find that the people who are like that in the way they present themselves, say at an event or on social media, and then you sit down with them and they're asking you for help or they're asking you for advice. And it's like, oh, like things aren't going as good as, you know, you advertise.
Right.
And, you know, my thing is it's kind of sad to watch, frankly.
Yes.
Because, you know, at the end of the day, like I get it, the marketability, but I think like being authentic and conveying value and genuine value and meaning it is far more valuable than like how you might appear.
100%.
You know, like, because it's not like someone, you know, it's not like someone's like, oh, like he looks like he knows what he's doing. Then they partner with them. It's not like they're sending their profile off to all their friends and being like, hey, like this is my realtor. Isn't he great? Isn't he so cute? Like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's like a very personal transaction that they're 100%. You know, trusting you with.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Like, you know, how important trust is, not, you know, obviously in the business relationship, but, you know, in general.
I think trust is super important, and people really want to know that even if it's not going to be smooth sailing, even if it's going to be the hardest sale possible,
yeah,
just tell me. Just be honest with me up front. Hey, it's going to be a bumpy ride, but we're going to get through it. Here's what you can expect. Like, I have to remember, and realtors have to remember that, for example, somebody like you who is not in the real estate business every day, you might not know what comes after A and what comes after B and what comes after C, but I do. So it's my job to set those expectations so that you know what to expect and it's not a surprise for you. And that's really how trust is built. Not selling everybody a dream and say, oh my God, this house is going to sell in 30 seconds for $1 million over asking and you're going to move to Jamaica. No, man, it's not real life.
Yeah.
Just be real. Just be real. Be a good human.
Yeah.
That's sales.
Yeah.
If you want to, just be a good guy.
Would you always classify yourself as a salesperson?
We are not salespeople. Real estate agents are not salespeople. No, we don't. We sell ourselves.
Yeah.
We go on interviews for a living to sell ourselves and our skills and our process and our level of customer service. But all we do is we take a product, we put it in the best position to sell. But I'm not going door to door and say, hey, man, I got this sick colonial. You got to come check it out. We don't do that.
Well, I mean,
we're guides.
Yeah, you're guides. I mean, I guess that makes sense because at the end of the day, like, you could sell someone a colonial, but it's because they already know what they want.
Correct.
They already know, like, I want a 2-bedroom colonial, I want an en-suite in the master, maybe something that I can convert into an in-law, like 2 garages. They know what they're looking for
Exactly
when it comes to their dream home. Your job is to facilitate the process, so it's it's stress enough with moving. Your job is to, like, all right, like, this you don't need to deal with. I got this. Once they fall in love with that dream home. Quick break to shout out our sponsor, Relive the Moments. Founded by John Lim, they're redefining how we share memories. From tap-to-play photo frames to interactive coasters, they turn ordinary objects into powerful, shareable experiences. Perfect for weddings, events, or milestone moments. Relive, reconnect, reimagine. Check them out at www.relivethemoments.com. Now back to the show.
I would argue that real estate agents are more marketers than they are salesmen. And the reason for that is our job, like I said before, is to position the home in the right space so that it brings the most attention onto it. Attention is the number one currency there is. So if we can bring enough attention, that includes pricing it right, staging it right, cleaning it, whatever it is.
Pricing it right?
Pricing it right is 80% of the battle, right?
Yeah.
So if we can accomplish that, then your home will sell. So I'm a marketer. I'm not a salesperson.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you think
they should call us real estate marketers?
Yeah. Especially nowadays, man. I mean, do you think people well, you said, like, a lot of, probably a lot of people in your industry don't view it that way. What did you always have this approach?
No, I did not. Before COVID, I was a cold caller. I was a very transactional person.
Yeah.
Just on the phone. Hey, you want to sell your house? Boom. Hey, you want to sell your house? Boom, 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 boom. COVID comes, and Governor Cuomo at the time put us in a state of emergency in New York.
Yeah.
And in New York, when you're under a state of emergency, you can't cold call. Don't know how the two correlate, but they correlate. And I was scared shitless about cold calling because I'm like, I'm going to call Cuomo's aunt by mistake or something, and then I'm going to be screwed. So kind of had to change my approach. And my assistant at the time was this young kid. He's like 19, 20 years old. He's like, you got to talk to this guy, Tony Peck. Look at him. He's this godfather of Instagram. I'm like, this is stupid. I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. Convinced me after multiple attempts. I took a meeting with Tony, and it kind of gave me a whole new perspective on the approach of not just selling a home, but positioning myself. And I think after meeting them, it kind of humanized me a little bit in the process. And it humanized the real estate process for me. It's not about taking a house, making it look one way so that somebody would buy it. It's about taking that house and helping somebody imagine themselves living in it, if it's the right house for them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that, yes, you're exactly right, but I would argue that, like, that's essentially the goal of sales. It's a nice, and for me, like, when, like, I do events, right? For me, when I meet a client, I ask them what their vision is, and I establish enough, I hear everything they have to say, like, but it's really like the feeling that they want their guests to feel when they arrive.
Correct.
That's why I always say I don't, host events. I create curated experiences, because at the end of the day, I always look at it as just like, the way you stage a home and the way that you position it. Like, I need to make sure every little detail is accounted for to make sure that these folks feel the way that my host wants them to feel when they walk into whatever event it is, whether it's a private event, a corporate event, or whatever, and that's, so, like, I think, like, I take the same approach, but I am selling them, I'll admit that I am selling them, but, it's because they trust me, the same thing.
Right.
And, I love that like approach, because it's more human, because you're really tapping into the emotions that your client or is once, and when you're selling on emotion rather than just transaction, I think that's a grand slam. And you're right, Tony, that's what Tony does. I mean, even just yesterday, like everyone was like, that was great.
Everybody was having a great time.
Everyone was having a great time. And everyone got value out of it.
Correct.
And I think that's like the most important part. So you've been doing what you've been doing. You have the Vladimirsky team. Now you're in it, man. Now you're one of those people that people look up to. Who did you look up to as you began to grow along this journey?
I'm a big Gary Vee guy.
Gary Vee, okay.
I listen to Gary Vee probably 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah.
I actually don't think I miss an episode. I don't know if that's healthy or not.
That's healthy.
Yeah. I think I don't know, hearing you say that I'm somebody that people look up to is a little bit, I don't want to say crazy to me, because like I'm there's so many other people you could look up to.
People look up to you.
I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm somebody worth looking up to, but maybe at some point. But Gary Vee is somebody I look up to a lot, because he's himself. He's a CEO of multiple multi-billion-dollar companies, and he's gonna show up just like himself anywhere he goes, and he doesn't give a shit, and he's comfortable in his own skin. And I think once you kind of become that, it could change it. It could change your life for the better, for sure.
Yeah. No, I think Gary Vee is awesome. To be honest, I've listened to a couple of his episodes, and I think I watched one of his a couple of his speeches when I was in the when I was really delving into the public speaking, just to experiment with different models of speaking. When you see him as a mentor, do you have any mentors within the local space, or who kind of guided you along the way? And what does mentorship mean to you?
I would probably have to say Tony and Fran and Michael have been big mentors in my life. From I know like they have a digital marketing company, but it went beyond that.
Yeah.
It really kind of just transformed Roman from somebody who thought that he had to be a certain way for people to do business with him. And they kind of helped me come out of my shell and just be myself.
Yeah.
Be myself, and I'm a lot happier for it. I look up to them and I see like what they've done in their own business. And it's like you saw last night, dude, it was just tremendous. It's bigger and bigger every single year.
Yeah. I mean, what were those conversations like when you were coming out of your shell?
They were hard. If you go back, I think I posted it recently. If you go back and watch like one of my first videos, I had my blazer on and my collared shirt. I was like, "Hi, I'm Roman Vladimirsky, and I'm the CEO of the Vladimirsky Team." And it just wasn't. It wasn't me.
It was uncomfortable.
It was very uncomfortable. And I think once I started to just, like me and you are having a conversation now, that's how my videos are.
Yeah.
That's how my videos are. And like they get it.
Yeah.
They really do get it, and they got me. And when we started working together, I think I'm like the perfect client too. Like I didn't question a lot of things.
You're like, okay.
I'm just like, all right, you guys have done it. You've perfected it. I see Tony with his stuff. I see Fran with Snack Time. Michael is the engine that makes everything run. I'm just gonna shut up and I'm gonna do what you're telling me to do.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
It's funny too, like, you think that you have to be a certain way, and when you are being that certain way, you're kind of really distancing yourself from who you truly are. Now is like you lean into who you are and understand like the value that you bring. How enlightening is that feeling?
It's still kind of surreal, actually.
Yeah.
Like I just told you now, like I don't feel like I should be somebody like looked up to.
Yeah.
It's surreal. Like little things are happening now that haven't happened before. Like I get recognized in like the supermarket or at events, and it's just like, all right, man, I just do food videos. Like,
yeah,
I'm not.
The food videos are sick though, bro.
Like, no, they're awesome. I have fun. I have fun doing them, but it's just like, I don't know, man. It's still a weird feeling. It's kind of surreal a little bit.
Yeah,
it's kind of surreal. I got to pinch myself sometimes, but there's still a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Well, now you're on a team, and you have people who are on your team, and they look to you for guidance. They look to you for you to support. What does that mean to you? And being in that leadership position, what is your approach to leadership?
So I don't know if it's conventional or unconventional. So like Ryan is like me and Ryan. Ryan's like the main person on my team. I don't even call him a member of my team. Like we're business partners.
Yeah.
And we inspire each other in like different facets of life. Like Ryan's the fitness, health guy, and if you look at me, my food videos, I'm far from that, right? Like I eat for a living. Like, you know, it's cool. Like, and I help him try to get out of his shell and post content and just be more himself and be more out there and be proud of who he is. You know, and we work together, man. I don't know if I guess we're leaders for each other.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. And I've always thought like anybody that's going to be on my team, yes, I'm the leader, but it has to be like a partnership.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really what I try to focus on.
It's so funny because like you guys kind of remind me of like Spandler and Austin a little bit. Like, you know, they're very like, I mean, I don't think Austin is real estate, but they're like boom, but they're like kind of like yin and yang.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And, you know, it works for them. And, you know, I think oftentimes that's always the best because where I lack, you excel and vice versa. When you talk about like that partnership, you know, obviously partnerships take time to build. What do you think are key components for anybody who's listening that are important to establish from the onset in order to make sure that that partnership holds?
One thing is trust.
Trust.
Me and Ryan were friends before we worked together.
Okay.
We were in the same real estate office. He was on a different team at the time. And we just got along. We hit it off. And I think we went away to Texas for a KW convention one year. And, you know, we were just like, hey, man, you know, Ryan was still drinking at the time. He was like, hey, man, we should start our own team. I'm like, yeah, okay, bro, get out of here. And then like a year later, like he got sober, he got clean, he started getting in shape. And it was just timing, and we trusted each other. And with me and Ryan, we each know what we're good at.
Yeah.
You know, I am with Ryan, I have the ability to take time out of my day and come do things like this.
Yeah.
You know, and he's cool not being in the spotlight and being behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know, so like you said, we complement each other, but without the trust, I don't know that any of that would be possible.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, you were doing your thing, and, you know, obviously you're a father, you know, you're a husband, and you kind of alluded to like where, you know, that time management and, you know, the negotiation with the wife and really establishing that. But you know, families comes first, and you talked about your family in the beginning, and now you have your own family. Talk about the values that are really important for you as a father to instill in your children, and how you try to show up to them for them every day. So that's fatherhood in general, man.
Dude, fatherhood, man. When my daughter was born and I held her in my arms for the first time, like I knew my life would never be the same. Dude, it is crazy because like now it's no longer about you. It's about keeping this person alive.
How old's your daughter?
My daughter's 4 now.
Oh.
My daughter's 4 now. And like my kids are probably the most important thing to me. And I know like a lot of people say that as an excuse. So I don't try to use my kids as something that limits me from accomplishing my goals and my dreams. They're the reason that I'm doing it. So I'm not going to use them as a crutch to say that that's why I can't do A, B, and C. And I think that's what I want to instill with them too. Like you always got to keep hustling. I hate when my daughter uses the word can't.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I was like, yes, you can. And I make her keep trying until she can do it. Like, because you can do anything you want, you know, and just hard work ethic and drive and belief in yourself. I think those are the most important things that I'm looking to instill in my kids is just belief in yourself and confidence, because confidence is everything.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because like when you talk about like how, you know, I mean, obviously this podcast is about purpose, and you know, how has your purpose evolved over the years?
I think purpose isn't something that is the same for your entire life, right? Different things are important to you at different stages in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like right now it's my family and my growth and the growth of my family. And not because I want to have more kids, but I want everybody to grow in society as individuals, as people. So right now, that's my purpose in everything that I'm doing, and coming on this podcast and making food videos and selling houses and everything else that's to come, which I'm not going to share here. But it's family, man. That's really everything that keeps me going. It's my kids and my wife.
Can you talk about maybe like a time where you felt like you lacked purpose, and like, you know, how that moment really is something that you might even go back to in moments of just like, all right, like, no, I could do this?
Dude, I question myself a lot. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
Because this social media brand game is a long-term play, sometimes I sit back and I'm like, shit, am I really doing like, the right thing? Well, I can just go get a 6-figure job tomorrow probably if I wanted to. Like,
Yeah.
is this worth it? And I just got to remind myself how miserable I'd be if I go tomorrow and get a 6-figure 9-to-5 punch-in kind of job. So I do get into my head a lot of times about questioning myself, and then just pull myself right out and just get back to it. It's not easy. And I think as men too, sometimes we think we can't be vulnerable or feel certain things.
Yeah.
But that's bullshit, bro. If you're feeling a certain way, just go talk about it with somebody.
Yeah.
It's
so funny, dude, because me too, in that same way where, you talked about Gary Vee being like a huge inspiration for me. Jay Shetty's a huge inspiration for me. That was really, I really discovered him while I was getting sober and in that first year. And, I mean, our podcasts are named very similarly because I understood that in order for me to maintain not only sobriety, but just like a different quality of life and a different mindset, I needed to be grounded in a purpose, and, one of the main purposes for me is to really help inspire other people. Like if someone hears this episode, whether it's a, aspiring realtor or, someone who just lost someone or, someone just starting a family, and they can relate to anything that you're sharing right now, then, mission accomplished. Because, that was the things that I clung to, early on when I felt my weakest. And, that's what purpose means to me. It's really more about giving back, and touching as many people, how, and I think like that's where that you're living purposefully when the impact that you have on others matters almost more to you than other gifts that can happen. What would you say to someone like who is in that weird space where they are lacking purpose?
I think lacking purpose sometimes, how should I put this? Like if I'm talking to a young Roman who was like, because like from 18 to like probably 25, I had no purpose.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. Do I want to work at ESPN and be a marketing exec? Do I want to go do A, B, C, and D? But I would say to somebody, like, it's okay if you don't have purpose at that time.
Yeah.
Right? But just don't stop looking for it.
Yeah.
I think that's when you get in trouble, is when you stop fighting and you stop being hungry to find what that purpose might be. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely. Because when you tell yourself that you don't have a purpose, it could be like it's that internal negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
And
we
that
do that
voice,
a lot.
Dude, that voice gets louder and louder and louder and louder. And I mean, we still have that, where it's like, yo, was that the right move or should I have done that? And for me, I just kind of am like, I just tell it to shut up. Like I talk back to it.
And it's funny you mentioned that too. So as we're having that negative self-doubt in our mind, on the other end, we also have our family members, right? And we all have those family members who think they're doing the right thing by saying, why don't you just go get that safe, cushy job where, you could be doing A, B, and C? Or, why would you be doing those food videos? How do they correlate with real estate? Are they actually making you money? We all have those people in our family that think they're helping, but they're actually not. And you have to try to overcome that too, because they're just living in their own self-doubt, and they probably feel that maybe there were some things in their own life that they didn't get to chase or accomplish, and they're putting it out on you. They don't know that they're doing something negative.
Yeah. Were there choices professionally that you made that you had to sell to your wife?
That I had to what to my wife?
Sell.
She wasn't my wife at the time, but getting into real estate,
Yeah.
Because when I was transitioning into real estate was about the time where, we were dating 9 years at that point. She's like, so what's next for us? Like, are we getting married anytime soon? I'm like, fuck, I don't have 2 pennies to rub together, and you want to get married. Dude, but getting into real estate was a big thing that I had to kind of convince her that was the right move. So I got into real estate in 2017. a month after I got into real estate, I proposed to her. I had to max out some credit cards to buy the ring. I had to do that cash back on the credit cards to buy the ring. 2 years later, we got married. I paid for the wedding in cash. It was the right move.
That's all. It was the right move. Yeah. You know, we're talking about like, how long you been married now? Together? 15 years?
We've been together 17 years.
17 years.
Married 6 years and
you
3
know,
weeks.
I don't want to glaze over that. So you and Alana.
She hates when people call her Elena.
Shit, tell her.
Oh, man.
Yo, tell her my bad. My bad, Alana. You and Alana together for 18 years?
Almost going to be 18 years next year, yeah.
Together for 18 years. Let's talk about that. That's a lot of value. How do you maintain that longevity? I think a lot of people look for longevity in relationships, and there had to have been ups and downs. Maybe I'd love
there's still ups and downs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say that it's 18 years of pure love and bliss. I bet you Jay-Z and Beyonce have their own shit that they get into too, right? Like it's not perfect. There's no, happily ever after. Life is hard, but I think with Alana, I found the partner that I want to go through that hard with. Like me and Alana have a relationship where we're two very strong personalities, and we can get after it, man. We can get after it. Just ask some of my family; they've all seen it.
Yeah.
But you know what? At the end of the day, we still love each other. We're still in love, which is super important. And we're gonna get through. We're gonna have 1,000 more battles in our lifetime, God willing. And that's the person who I wanted to be with.
That's awesome.
Period.
I love that, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's so funny because you witness a lot of people give up in relationships. You witness a lot of people start fighting not fair and I think that's like really cool that, it's also a testament to just like patience with each other, which I think is really, really important.
Don't get me wrong. We don't have a lot of patience in the moment sometimes.
Yeah, right? In the moment, but like the long-term patience.
Long-term, yes. Yeah. Yes, long-term. Listen, we know it's like we're meant to be with each other, and we've always had that kind of relationship. She's very Italian, so Italians they're crazy, man. They like to fight.
She from Westchester too?
No, she's from the Bronx.
Oh, she's Bronx Italian.
Bronx Italian, yeah. So they're quite loud.
Yeah.
But like, dude, we get into it, man. But it's like a love getting into it. Yeah. Thing, you know what I mean? It's fun.
Dude, I love that. Yeah. One of the things I said early on was just like, the human component that you bring to everything you do. And, now that I think about it, I think when I first met you, might have been like when you were like in that transition from, the suit to the Roman. And now, Roman the Realtor has become to be your brand. How cool is that, man? You talked about being recognized in grocery stores. Now, when you talk about the brand and it's authentically you, how much does that like change things for you from just like a perspective? It's like from where you were and what you're doing now.
It actually excites me to where I'm going.
Yeah.
What's next? Where else can I take this? Like you look at people that have come up from social media, like Mr. Beast, even Nicky Cass, right? Nicky Cass was local. He's in Jersey, and he started during COVID doing impressions of his family, and now he's got a partnership with the Yankees, and he's got his own baseball card. And it's like, dude, with social media, you can do anything you want in this world. Anything you want in this world.
Yeah.
If you buy in. And that's what I'm most excited for. Like, what's next? I'm super grateful for what I've built and what I've done to this point. And I'm super grateful for anybody that wants to watch my videos. And like, it's crazy to me. Like my wife even comes home. She's like, oh my God, another teacher today said, oh my God, I saw your husband. He was eating the cheeseburger. I'm like, okay, this is cool. But like, I just don't get, I love it, but I don't understand why people love it.
Yeah.
Do you know, you know what I'm saying?
I think it's cool because it's you, and it's like, if you were trying to, you come off like you're just being you, while other people can sometimes come off as they're duplicating something else to get the artificial likes. And, like even like the Crema Cafe one that, I bumped into you. That was that day, right?
That was that day.
And I was like, all right, like, I didn't really know why you were there, because I was like, oh, he's in New Rock. He's up here in Eastchester and whatever. And then I saw it and I was like, oh, that's so fucking cool. You know, like I was like behind the scenes there. No, I'm just kidding.
You were.
Yeah,
You were behind the scenes.
But when it comes to, you know, I alluded to it in the intro where it's like the communities that you are just as important as the homes.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that, you know, the importance of community.
The communities make the homes. Like, when I started making these videos, it was, yes, to get my name out there, yes, to get more interaction, to meet more people. But the main purpose was to raise up small business and to help the small businesses get promotion, get business. And I can't tell you how many times I'll do a video and people say, oh my God, we were packed for the next week. And like, it's actually helping them. But at the same time, it's also educating people that are thinking of coming into the community. Hey, there's this place, that place, this place. And you wouldn't believe how many people that live in these communities don't know certain places are there.
Yeah.
Been there 30 years, never heard of that restaurant. Happens all the time.
Really?
All the fucking time.
Huh.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But
it's like, oh, like we've been here for 30
Yep.
years. Like, what fuck, you know?
Yep. And I get a lot of shit in the comments too about some of the things I say or some of the places I've gone. But people are in their own bubble. They don't even realize that I'm helping a small business.
Yeah.
I'm helping a business owner in your community raise up the value of your community.
Yeah.
How does that not? It's crazy that it doesn't click with some people.
Have you ever done a video like talking about that?
No. Until we clip it from this podcast and we'll post it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Love that. There you go. You know, dude, the funniest thing is that, like, you know, now like that you are like entering, that you're in that social media space. You know, I think one thing that people do is like with social media, it's like sometimes you listen to the negative more than the positive. How do you know, keep the blinders on? Because I'm sure you get some bullshit.
Like I said before, I'm pretty comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
The comments, I read all of my comments, but it's more so for entertainment purposes. You know, I did videos on a taco spot. The amount of times I got called a gringo is crazy. The amount, like, I get a lot of hate for my opinion on food, which is cool. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. But dude, if I let every comment from some person that I don't know from some town that I'm never gonna see him, if I let that stop me from chasing what I want and doing what I feel is right, I wouldn't get anywhere in life.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of things that people are missing with social media too, is they judge themselves so much that they're afraid of putting themselves out there, and their self-judgment is holding them back like they wouldn't believe.
I mean, in my experience, man, like as you continue doing it, like, A, it's easier to be more vulnerable. It's easier to not really care, because I only really care about the people who I'm reaching and who are getting, you know, positive feelings from what I'm talking about. And, you know, that was a huge thing for me. Like, I had a huge fear of being behind a mic, and I had a huge fear of like putting myself on camera. And Brandon, when I was, you know, working with him, he was like, bro, like, you need to talk to your audience. You need to engage more. And I was like, yo, fuck that.
Yeah. You know, I can remember, I can go back to the exact day where I had the realization that I shouldn't just make videos about real estate. I should make entertaining videos about real estate.
Yeah.
I was with Francis and Tony, and we were shooting in Mamaroneck. And the concept of the videos was appraisal value versus market value, which is probably one of the more boring topics you can find in the world. So we shot it. I watched it on the camera. I'm like, this fucking sucks. So we were near a playground in Mamaroneck. So I went on the swing and I started swinging. And I jumped off the swing and started talking about appraisal value versus market value. That one act created a lot of engagement in the comments of, what was that dude doing on the swing? Blah, blah, blah. But they watched.
They watched and they listened.
They watched.
And they maybe learned. That's fucking sick. Well, yeah, dude, like, that's the thing. Like, I said to Brandon, you know, like, and that was a big inspiration behind the podcast. Because I was really uncomfortable just like staring at a camera and like talking, you know?
Yeah. So
I was like, all right, like, I'm going to start a podcast and have conversations and, you know, build value and also prop up, you know, other people's stories and journeys up, because, you know, that's super important to me.
Huge.
You know, what are your goals and aspirations, you know, 5-10 years, and who do you hope to impact the most?
I'm going to be honest. I don't know that I'm going to be selling real estate in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I hope to get the team to a point where I can step away, have somebody else run it, whether that's through AI or through people or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I'm going to go after this. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet. I haven't figured that part out, but I know for a fact I'm probably not going to be selling real estate in 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you maintain, how do you make sure that you're living purposefully each and every day?
Just as long as I'm happy, as long as my family's healthy, they have what they need. That's my purpose right now, my family. That's really what I judge it by. If they're unhappy, figure out why. That's truly, I don't know if it's a cliche answer.
No, it's
but today, June 27th, that's what it is.
You know, honestly, sometimes when people's answers are that simple, like, it's like, all right, like, it almost like reflects just how grounded they truly are in their purpose, if that makes sense.
It does.
Are there any like daily practices or secret things that you do, bro, that like, you know, keeps you, you know, just, you know, focused and motivated?
Nah, dude, I don't. I wish I could say that I meditate or I write in a journal. I don't do any of that. I really don't. Dude, I don't have time for that kind of stuff. Not that it's bad, not that it's wrong. It just, it doesn't really fit into my life. And maybe that's the problem. I am in therapy too, which really is very helpful in its own right.
Yeah.
You know, if I need to get away, I'll just throw on the AirPods, listen to music. I'm a big music guy. Sports, big sports guy. That's kind of when I get into my own world. And I watch TV shows and I eat food. So that's probably all the unhealthy things that I shouldn't be doing, but I'm doing them and it works.
Oh yeah, bro. Dude, I'd love for you to talk to my audience and just tell them how they can reach you. If you have any upcoming events or anything that you want to share with them.
Awesome.
By all means.
You can find me on Instagram at Roman.the.Realtor. Feel free to DM me if you have any questions about real estate or marketing or food, anything else. Just hit me in the DMs. My contact information is on there too. And I do host a quarterly networking event with my partner, Rob Costamiris and Joe Imbrogno. It's called Business Made Social, and we'll be having our next event coming up in the fall, date to be determined.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much, bro.
No worries, man. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming down. Awesome. I appreciate your friendship, and I'm just so grateful that you're here.
And you made me cry.
I do apologize for that,
okay.
But it works with my audience. Everyone, I just want to thank everyone who listened to this entire episode. I want to thank Roman, obviously, for coming here. Guys, your engagement, your likes, your subscriptions to the official channel of the Finding Purpose podcast mean the world. Shout out to my boy Claudio at Caillou Visions. Anybody who needs content, whether it's marketing content, whether you want to start your own podcast, whether you want to send a video to your grandma, happy birthday, feel free to give me a call, reach out to at Caillou Visions. We'll connect you. We'll get it done. We'll get you hooked up. Like, follow, subscribe, and just keep the message going. Thank you so much, guys.